Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're jumping into a really cool idea from Tom Standage's book, A History of the World in 6 Glasses. The premise is simple, but kind of mind-blowing. What if 6 common drinks weren't just drinks, but were actually major forces that helped steer the course of human history?
I mean, think about that for a second. That cup of coffee you're holding, that can of soda, what if it could tell you a story? The story of all of us. It's a wild thought, and it suggests that history isn't just written in books, it's also flowing in the things we drink every single day.
So here's the big idea we're going to unpack. We're taking a trip through time, and our guides are 6 specific drinks: beer, wine, spirits, coffee, tea, and Coca-Cola. Each one defined an era, and together they literally fueled everything from the invention of farming right up to modern globalization.
All right, let's dive in. Our story has to start in the ancient world, with the 2 drinks that really laid the groundwork for civilization itself, beer and wine.
You see, beer wasn't really invented. It was discovered. People were gathering wild grains, storing them, and, well, sometimes they got wet and started to ferment. The result was this nourishing, slightly alcoholic mush. It was so good, some historians think the whole reason we bothered to settle down and invent farming was to get a more reliable supply of beer.
And this ancient proverb, it just says it all, doesn't it? For these first city dwellers, beer was everything. It meant safety, community, comfort. Going out into the wild, that was discomfort. Staying home with a beer, that was civilization. It was so valuable they even used it to pay the workers who built the pyramids.
But while beer was the drink for everybody in places like Egypt and Mesopotamia, something else was bubbling up around the Mediterranean: wine. And wine was different. It became the ultimate status symbol for the Greeks and Romans. It was a way to show you were sophisticated, you were elite, and you were powerful.
The Greeks even built this whole ritual around it, called the symposium. Now, this wasn't just a party, it was a serious affair. Men would gather, mix their wine with water, which they saw as the civilized thing to do, and then debate, philosophize, and test each other's intellect. And get this, our modern word for a scholarly conference, symposium, comes directly from these ancient Greek drinking parties.
Okay, so leaving the ancient world, our next 2 drinks are the ones that fueled a totally new era, an age of global exploration, of conquest, and of mind-bending new ideas. We're talking about spirits and coffee.
This was all made possible by a new bit of tech perfected in the Arab world: distillation. It's almost like alchemy. You gently heat wine, the alcohol turns to vapor first, you capture that vapor, cool it down, and bam! You've concentrated the alcohol into something much, much more potent. They called it aqua vitae, the water of life. We just call them spirits. But this new power had a dark, terrible side. Spirits, especially rum, made from Caribbean sugarcane, became the fuel and the currency for the transatlantic slave trade. Rum was used to buy enslaved people who were then forced to work on sugar plantations to make more sugar, to make more rum. It was a vicious, horrifying cycle.
Now, at the exact same time spirits were fueling this brutality, another drink arrived in Europe, also from the Arab world, and it was the total opposite: coffee. Instead of dulling your mind, it sharpened it. It made you alert. It was the perfect drink for what was coming next, the age of reason.
And coffee created a new kind of place, the coffee house. You have to think of these places as the internet of their day. Seriously. For the price of a cup, you got access to the latest news, you could listen to scientific debates, you could strike a business deal. They were these buzzing hubs of information and commerce.
And the ideas that came out of these places, they changed everything. Here's a perfect example. A casual debate in a coffee house between 3 of England's top scientists about how planets move is what pushed Isaac Newton to sit down and write his Principia Mathematica, probably the single most important science book ever written, all thanks to a coffeehouse argument.
Next up, we've got the drinks that built empires: tea and Coca-Cola. These 2 became tangled up with industrial power, colonialism, and the birth of a whole new kind of global consumer culture.
Over in Britain, tea completely took over. It became the nation's drink. And for the massively powerful British East India Company, it was everything. Just look at this chart. Tea made up over 60% of their entire trade. This one drink was literally bankrolling the expansion of the British Empire.
To give you an idea of the scale here, that's how much tea Britain was bringing in every year by the late 1700s. It went from being this incredibly rare, expensive thing for royalty to the national drink that absolutely everyone, from a factory worker to a duke, was drinking.
But this national tea addiction had some pretty awful global consequences. To balance the books on all the tea they were buying from China, Britain started illegally selling opium in China, which led directly to the Opium Wars.
And to control the supply, they basically created a whole new industrial-scale tea industry in their colony, India.
And the last imperial drink? Well, it's the most American drink imaginable, Coca-Cola. It started out as a quirky patent medicine, but through brilliant marketing and just being in the right place at the right time, like going overseas with American GIs in World War II, it became this unstoppable symbol of American capitalism, culture, and globalization.
So our story began with people looking for safe alternatives to dirty water, and that's exactly where it ends. After thousands of years of beer and wine and coffee, we're coming full circle, back to the most basic drink of all, to look at where we are now and where we're going.
So after this incredible trip through history, you have to ask, right? What's next? In our crazy, fast-changing world, what drink is going to define the next 100 years? The answer, it seems, is the one we started with, water. But our relationship with water today is, well, it's bizarre. In the developed world, most of us have access to incredibly cheap, perfectly safe water right from the tap. And yet look at this. We choose to pay thousands of times more for the stuff in a plastic bottle, all because of marketing.
And at the very same time, this is how many people around the world don't have reliable access to any safe drinking water at all. Let that sink in. Nearly 1/5 of the entire planet is still dealing with the same life or death challenge our most ancient ancestors faced.
This massive gap is creating huge geopolitical problems. It's not a new concern either. This prediction from a former head of the UN back in 1985 really highlights the stark reality. Access to water is becoming a major reason for conflict in our world. And so that leaves us with this one final, massive question. Throughout history, drinks have brought us together, and they've torn us apart. As we look to a future where our most basic need is becoming more and more scarce for so many, what's it going to be? Is water going to be the thing that drives us to war, or will it be the one thing that finally forces us to cooperate for our own survival? The answer to that question, well, it's going to write the next chapter of human history.